How's it going, guys? So I'm here with my SmackDown review, and before we get started, I'm not even going to bother talking about Raw. Nothing on that show is worth talking about. None of the videos interested me. There's nothing on there to watch at all. Like I said, I'm just completely disinterested in Raw. So let's talk about probably the most interesting, cringiest story. I think this was just posted yesterday. Mick Foley tagging Vince McMahon on Twitter, telling him, oh, Vince, if you want AEW to beat you, then you know what? You better make an all-women's brand. Yeah, like make a whole show for women. Because, that worked out so well with, like, the cruiserweights with 205 Live. Yeah, that's just a great idea. It's not bad enough that the Evolution pay-per-view, which is on the network, which is, there for everyone to see at the time, when it was just a standalone network, you paid your $10 a month and you got to watch it. And it was still the least watched pay-per-view out of any show on there, which is truly impressive because they've had a lot of bad pay-per-views. And yet, that looked bad on paper, mind you. And people still watch those more than Evolution. So it really shows that people saw that as a throwaway pay-per-view. And it really was a throwaway pay-per-view. If you remember, also, it was like a really weirdly built show. They just threw a lot of things together. I remember it wasn't as bad as I thought. I remember, like, actually watching it and reviewing it on here, and I don't really think I trashed the whole entire thing to hell, but it definitely was not one of their better shows. What is really a better show than him? Like, they're all bad. But, what is Mick Foley thinking? First of all, number one, AEW is never going to beat SmackDown. The only thing that's going to happen with AEW is that the ratings are going to go even lower for them. Are WWE's ratings going to go lower? Yeah, but they're still making money. Do you think Vince McMahon gives a shit about really the ratings at this point? If he did, do you think that he'd keep going the way? He doesn't care about the show. He's making money out the ass. He's making billion-dollar deals. And everyone's just sitting around saying, oh, we'll make their show better if they push this guy. Like, what a bunch of dopes. People sitting around in the internet wrestling community still, or what's left of it, mind you, they're still sitting around and still believing, well, if they push Cesaro, that's what people want to see. Are you people out of your minds? Everyone has, like, this crackpot theory, if they push this guy or they make this guy champion, you think people care about that shit? You think casual people flipping channels are going to see Cesaro as the world champion? Like, well, this is what the WWE has been missing all these years. Give me a fucking break. Mick Foley is kind of like Tommy Dreamer. He's completely clueless. Two total SJWs that all they want to do is be like, oh, women's wrestling is where it's at, guys. No, it's not where it's at, and it's never been where it's at, and it's been proven already that shit doesn't get ratings, because you have that statistic right there about the WWE Evolution pay-per-view that it did not work. That was back in 2018, right? It was proven that it didn't work, and it's not going to work again. So you think if they did one standalone pay-per-view and they knew enough not to do another pay-per-view, because you notice there's never been another women's pay-per-view after that. They've given them matches like the Women's Royal Rumble, which is total overkill, mind you. They got to have their own elimination chamber, of course. It's all about making history, guys. But a whole brand? Do you really think that anyone's going to watch this show? I kind of want to see it happen just to see how low the ratings could go. Can you imagine, like, ratings even lower than NXT and AEW? I mean, it would be a complete disaster. But Mick Foley, how does this guy, where he lived through the greatest time period in all of wrestling, one of the most successful, one of the most cost-effective periods in wrestling history based from a rating standpoint, not about making deals with NBC and all that shit. or Saudi Arabia. We're talking about just solely having a good product on TV and people tuning in and then making money that way because advertisers wanted to just buy in and have their ads advertised on that show because it was just making, so much headway, right? So how can this guy live through this time period, and also that coincided with the greatest wrestling creative mind of all time in Vince Russo and also Ed Ferrara, who doesn't get mentioned as much? You gotta believe that this is a guy that just, he's totally lost in the sauce. He doesn't understand that this is not what people want to see. The only people that want to see this is the biggest SJWs on the planet. That's the only ones who want to see the women wrestle on their own show. And of course, because if they're going to have their own shows, then they also got to have their own monthly pay-per-views probably. Can you imagine that shit? Can you imagine how bad that would be? Well, Mick Foley wants to see one of the greatest of all time, mind you. I have no qualms about saying that he's one of the greatest of all time. And this guy's actually saying that this is what's going to save the product. Like, AEW's even threatening him. Like, are you telling me that this guy is that far removed from reality? Apparently so. Apparently, he really has no fucking clue what's going on. I don't know if it's because he's not there or what it is, but Foley is clueless. So anyway, let's jump into SmackDown. And right off the bat, I'm going to say, this is a show that was based around its main event. It's Roman Reigns versus Daniel Bryan main event. And this main event was way too fucking long. You had, we'll get to it, right? But this is basically what it is. This show, there was really nothing on this show aside from basically a single match. So you could pretty much just consider everything else to be filler. We started off with the Street Goofs and Bianca Belair as they defeated the Dirty Dogs and Bayley. Look at Bayley. I cannot see how people think that this is like one of the best women's wrestlers that the WWE or wrestling in general has to offer. Look at her in that attire. Just something about Bayley to me, her appearance has it's been increasingly sloppy. She's always looked like a goof, but the whole outfit, the haircut, I don't know, like, what the fuck she's supposed to be. I don't know. And this is like Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks. People were actually saying, and we didn't talk about this enough, guys, following after WrestleMania when I did that SmackDown review. You had goofballs on the internet saying that, I think it was Sam Roberts or some asshole was saying that Sasha and Bianca Belair had the same energy as Rock Austin WrestleMania 17. I mean, I feel like you should be arrested for saying, I feel like the cops should break down your fucking door and arrest you for that shit. That is like a crime to say that. How could anyone in their right mind, I know it's just wrestling, but I mean, honestly, you look at these two like kids, like this is how I look at it. Like seriously, like I see children in the ring here. Stone Cold and The Rock, two guys that defined basically what wrestling was and the attitude, and just two guys that actually fucking look like wrestlers. Not some goof with an overly long ponytail and some girl who does this and thinks she's like some cool gangster. The fuck is this, like, comparison? I mean, that's the rantings of a madman saying that garbage, right? That's trash. Trash out the ass to say something that stupid. I mean, that is like the mother of all virtue signaling. Oh, look, I'm actually going to give it such an esteemed honor as Rock Austin. I have no standards. I mean, really, you have to have no standards to say something that stupid. Brock Austin, Sasha Banks. I mean, how can you even start to compare those two when you have Sasha Banks outside smiling and crying? I mean, these overly emotional wrestlers where they want to be considered, on par with the men, but they're still overly emotional, crying their eyes out. I mean, I don't know how anyone could sit there and just be like, look, and you got these people, like, I don't understand. The only thing I could imagine is that people want to put this out on the internet because they think it's going to get them laid. Because they think like, oh, you see other women? Look how much approving I am of other women. Oh, ain't going to work, people. It ain't going to work. I'm just saying, I've seen this time and time again. When people on the internet, they're just like so much for, oh yeah, let's celebrate women. And it's wrestling, you dumbasses. It's wrestling, and it's bad wrestling. It's not good entertainment. Did you really watch that match? And were you entertained seeing Bianca Belair whipping somebody with their hair? And some complete goof came on my video and was telling me, oh, you're racist for saying this. Okay, you know, I have no problem. How many white wrestlers? Look what I say about Kevin Owens. There's no bias here. I'm telling you, every single person gets called out on this channel when they're lousy and when they suck. And, it may not be their fault because the bad creator. But let's be honest, guys. I'm looking at Bianca Belair and I'm looking at Sasha Banks, and everything I'm seeing from them is like, they're never going to get up to a level because they just don't look the part. It's as simple as that. So, sometimes I feel like it's not even fair to do these criticisms because it's like I'm criticizing something that can improve. You know what I mean? It's just pointless. What's the point of criticizing something where, like, I can't even say how it can improve? Because I'm just criticizing it basically just because it's bad. It's tiresome. That's why I've questioned continuing these reviews, because I'm literally repeating myself. Somehow I always do find new ways of making the criticism entertaining, mostly by joking around, doing funny stuff. I mean, there's only so much of this stuff I could mock. I mean, but, oh yeah, there was a match here. Hey, did you know Dolph Ziggler and Bobby Roode or Robert Roode are the tag champs? I always forget that. And the Street Goofs, like, I don't get it. Like, is this leading anywhere? Are they going to have another tag match? I mean, eventually they're going to give the Street Goofs the tag titles again. And when we have the crowd back, we're probably going to realize just how not over the Street Goofs are, and no one gives a shit about their solo cups. Then we get Daniel Bryan cutting a promo backstage. He's going to tap Reigns out. Okay, whatever. Like, I don't care about these promos. It's Seth Rollins in the back. Again, with the maniacal laughter. If Bayley's not laughing, then it's got to be Seth Rollins laughing. When did this ever come about where wrestlers just laugh their asses off throughout these promos? I've said it now for like a few weeks already, maybe a few months. Do these wrestlers have that rare condition where they can't stop laughing? Do they really have that condition of uncontrollable laughter? Because that's what I'm seeing here. I'm seeing a bunch of people just laughing for no reason. I get it. They're supposed to be playing villains. They're laughing. You could kind of consider almost to be a sarcastic laugh or a villainous laugh, but it's not a fucking cartoon show. He's not Skeletor. I mean, actually, you know what? Come to think of it, Skeletor had a voice in the higher register. Does he not sound like that? Is Seth Rollins Skeletor? Is that what he's channeling there? Is he thinking back of, Masters of the Universe? Is that what he's going for? Because I think he is. Sounds very similar. So, I don't know. Should I start calling Seth Rollins Skeletor Rollins? I think that's a decent nickname. I think it kind of fits. It's a very descriptive nickname. It's a good comparison because this is what he's pretty much, devolved into. Just a laughing goof. I don't know. One glove, ugly jacket, laughing like a moron. So this is what we get throughout the night. Just wrestlers chiming in. Who's going to win? Who the fuck cares? Like, honestly, all wrestlers that have nothing better to do. And by the way, he's going to wrestle Cesaro on, a SmackDown throwback episode. And for some reason, the commercial, this is going to be next week. The commercial makes it look like it's from the fucking 80s or something. And they're showing clips from a 90s Raw crowd. Like from an early one. SmackDown came out in 1999. Why is this commercial with big Aquanet hair? Like what? Like who put this commercial together? If they can somehow get the old stage back in there, the thing is, how are they going to do this in the Thunderdome? Are we going to erect the SmackDown fist? Are we going to get that out of the warehouse where it's been? Because we've seen that on YouTube. What are they going to do to make it a throwback SmackDown in the Thunderdome? Wouldn't it be better to save that shit until they go back in front of the live crowd? I don't know, but, you could pretty much bank on it's going to be disappointing because it's going to have Seth Rollins and Cesaro, for instance, right there on the show after we saw that. Are we going to see another one of those great moves like the airplane spin with no hands? Hey, Mom, look, no hands. Or are we going to see some more of that great stuff? That match of the match of the night of WrestleMania, apparently, in major quotation marks there. Up next, we've got Tamina and Natalya defeating Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. I can't tell you who, but I gotta keep saying that Natalya just keeps looking better and better to me every week. But that's about it. I've got nothing else to say about this, really. We saw this match at Mania. Here it is again. They just keep giving us the same thing. I said like at Mania, I said it was a decent match. I enjoyed the match. I didn't really have any big problems with the match, but here's the match again. So now I have a problem with the match because we just saw this, and it was a Mania match. So it was meant to be special, but here it is on SmackDown again. And it wasn't even that special when it was on Mania. It's definitely not special here. We've got Naka Murphy, who's, apparently this guy, remember when he was in the Gauntlet, we all thought he was going to get a push, and then he wasn't even at Mania, and he doesn't even have a match on SmackDown because they have to have a big half-an-hour match. Then we've got Rey Mysterio and Dominic are backstage. They're, they want the tag champion, the tag belts, and Dominic is like, could this guy work out? I mean, you're a wrestler, and your dad's fucking jacked, and you're looking like that, pal. What, I don't get it. The guy, he does not look like a star. If you're gonna stand there by your dad and say how amazing your dad is, then follow in his footsteps. Get in the gym. There's a gym right in the fucking center right there. Right? Didn't they set that all that stuff up backstage and everything? I don't know if maybe it's just at the Performance Center. I don't know if they have it at the Thunderdome. But man, I don't know. Bring something with you, resistance bands or something to the Thunderdome. Do some kind of workout. The guy is you know, he not only is he thin, but he's like out of shape. We've seen him before. That's kind of why they've given him that chest protector type of thing, and they're dressing him up as Seth Rollins almost. I mean, really, it's just like, what is the deal? Like, there used to be a standard. These guys would not make it on the show back in the day. But we've got Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, all these guys that look like complete shit, and they're allowed on the show. And yes, Sami Zayn is entertaining, so I've given him a pass most recently, but we're going to get to that in a moment. So, last week, I totally forgot to talk about Aleister Black, and when I was doing some edits to my video, like adding in the intro and stuff, and I noticed this. I was like, should I just add this in? I was like, nah, I don't want to like edit it and like throw that in there. Just fuck it. Because I knew they were gonna like do it. I said I'll just like apologize for not talking about it in my next video. So here I am. Sorry for that. Like, you really care that I didn't talk about Aleister. I'm sure some people did, but no one in the comments even said anything about it. All those comments, like 100 comments, and no one said anything. So, okay. So now we're going to talk about it. It's the same thing. Story time with Aleister Black. So we haven't seen Aleister Black in like a year, right? Yeah, because like since the pandemic, he hadn't fucking shown his face and whatever. We hadn't seen him for a long time. And there was all these rumors, oh, they're keeping him off because of Selena Vega, whatever. I don't care. I don't even care about Aleister Black. I'm not even that big fan of Aleister Black. He's overrated. You know, all these people are overrated. Oh, Buddy Murphy's so talented. Why is that guy? Like, these guys are not going to improve the show. Like, just like all these people you think are like these big ratings getters. Like, what do you see in these people? They don't look special. I mean, honestly, like, seriously, like, Aleister Black, okay, a little bit because of the tattoos and everything, but does this guy really seem like he deserves to be on the show? Like, honestly, like a guy like Karrion Kross, Killer Kross, like, okay, there's a guy who deserves to be on the show. This guy, not so much. You see the difference there? There's not a lot coming from Aleister Black. So he wasn't really that missed, but here he is, and I get it. We want to introduce him with some vignettes, but he's telling some story, and like, who the hell cares what the hell he's talking about? Oh, when I was in high school, everybody believed in the American dream, and this was a lie. Like, what the fuck? Like, this is such straightforward, nonsensical, you know, trying to sound philosophical. This is just pure grade A trash. Trying to make the guy sound stoic. We've already seen him. He was already a disappointment. It's time to restart him for like the third or fourth time because they fucked up with him, and now he's been off TV for way too long. Like, what the glasses and everything. Is it like, you see him with those glasses, and you're really supposed to think that this is a tough guy? Like, come on now. I mean, really, like, this is how they present him. Story time with Aleister Black. He's reading to you, and I don't know, you're supposed to get a chill down your spine or something from this, because I'm getting a headache just talking about it. That's what I'm getting from it. Then we get a Big E defeating Apollo Crews by disqualification when Aziz pulls him out of the ring. Commander Aziz, who's wearing this, like, that is the cheapest looking military uniform. They look like he bought it at fucking Party City, like out of one of those costume packs. Really, like a $20 outfit right there. That does not look like a $1 billion company is giving him this outfit to wear out there. No, but they're serious. They're having him wear this jacket. It looks extremely lame. I think you could probably find a better outfit being worn at like a school play, to be quite honest. And how are we having this match? And you have Apollo Crews hitting a Death Valley driver on the ring apron. It reminded me of that ridiculous, what was that match that they had in AEW with the women with Thunder Rosa? Wasn't that also like a death match or something? Yeah, whatever it was. that match where it was all bloody and there was a Death Valley driver, like, and that was a Death Valley driver off the top rope through a table. So I guess it wasn't as bad. This wasn't as bad as that women's match. But still, like, that's supposed to be the hardest part, they always tell you, of the ring, is the ring apron. He's hitting a Death Valley driver on that, hits a frog splash, Eddie Guerrero's finishing move, and you've got Big E kicking out of that like it's nothing. And, is Big E really that special that he gets to kick out of something like that? Then we have, of course, Kevin Owens runs in, and we have Sami Zayn running in, and we've already completely forgot about what makes Sami Zayn special because he has not had a significant promo now in 2 weeks. Where's the conspiracy thing? Where is his bread and butter? They've removed it from him. Probably because, why? Because he's getting it over, and he was getting it over himself. This is what they always do. Just like the Daniel Bryan environmental SJW thing. If it's too good, and the guy is getting it over himself without the help of creative despite the shitty writing, then they rip it away from them because they're spiteful and they're childish. So that's what we get here. And Kevin Owens, like I said, the Royal Rumble, he's world championship material. We fast forward a few months later and he's just a run-in guy during an IC title match. Bravo. Amazing booking right there, right? Look how they managed to maintain the momentum of all their talent. Splendid, isn't it? Then we get, what's up next? Paul Heyman with probably the most annoying fucking promo I've heard in my life. I mean, this guy, honestly, what Vince Russo says about him, he is a living, breathing cartoon character. This guy is going over the top. Yes, no. He's doing all this shit, and it's like, remember when Paul Heyman used to actually be a good commentator? He was the guy who called WrestleMania 17, for God's sakes. The guy was great. He did good promos. Remember when he did that shoot promo with Vince McMahon during the Alliance time before Survivor Series? The guy was great. And he's become just a caricature of himself. He's a goof. He sounded like a goof, and here he was 10 times more annoying. This brought me back to during the times, remember the time when Brock beat Undertaker? Of course you couldn't forget that. Remember when he used to repeat, 1,000 times in a row about the 21-0 thing? And I think he actually said it like 21 times or something like that. Like, it was that ridiculous. This was how annoying it was. Being just so fucking obnoxious. I don't know how they continue to put this guy out there. It's embarrassing. So we move on to the main event. And before we get started talking about this match, let's talk a little bit about the theme song. Roman Reigns finally has a new theme song for the first time in, since he got to the WWE. It was basically his theme is the Shield's theme. So, he's had this theme for a very long time. And I mean, it was a good theme song. Not one of my favorites, but, I always thought like they probably should have given him another theme after leaving the Shield, because that song is kind of like still identified with the Shield. Can you imagine if The Rock still kept his Nation of Domination theme? You saw that, like, after a while, they completely, like, redid his theme, and any trace of anything having to do with the Nation was removed from it, because they didn't want you to identify him with that old faction. But for some reason, along the way, they started to phase out Jim Johnston little by little, and that is still one of the biggest crimes of all time. Jim Johnston, the fact that they pushed this guy aside for CFO. CFO made some good themes. They made some good ones. I can name a few, but man, Jim Johnston is a musical genius. If you've ever looked this guy up and listened to his interviews, This guy actually had learned instruments so he could actually implement them into his music. You think about the body of work that this guy has and how many themes there are. Do yourself a favor. Go on Spotify, look at the Jim Johnson compositions, and just see how much iconic music this guy came up with. And so anyway, but that's enough about Jim Johnson. That's enough about, what it takes to make a good theme. But actually, you know what? No, because we still have to talk about the theme itself, because the theme is not good. This is not a good theme song. Usually when you change a theme, you probably want to make sure that you have something just as good, preferably better. It would be nice to improve on it too, but it would be nice to have a nice trade-off. And even though it's not one of the most classic songs of all time, it's still a Jim Johnson composition. And what it was is it was a little bit of a takeoff from the Taz theme. It was. It was actually a slowed down version of Taz's theme song, If You Dare. And they've now completely done away with this theme in favor of this song, which just sounds, I don't like to use the word generic because people use that word and what does that really mean, generic? That's not really a good way of describing a song. It's just uninspired. That's a word. It sounds very plain to me. I guess that's what people mean by generic. It doesn't sound anything worthy of a main event champion, face of your company. This is a theme that, quite frankly, is embarrassing that it didn't end up on the cutting room floor, that it made it to TV. That they want people to actually listen to this, and I like to think that they'd like to perceive it to be good because they cared enough to change his theme. That's the thing. If they didn't care, then they would just leave it the same. But they decided to change it, and what we got here is just very shitty sounding. They don't use, despite what a lot of people think, they haven't used CFO in a good 3 years. CFO and them parted ways, and they're using some other guys, and this is probably why all the themes that they've been coming up with are complete fucking trash. Because, this, you just gotta listen to the theme. Just go look at the YouTube video. They posted a video of Roman Reigns' new entrance, and it's so you can hear his new theme, and it's nothing. It's nothing to celebrate. You're not going to like this. You're not going to rock out. You're not going to nod your head. You know what? You're probably going to nod out. You're going to fall asleep listening to it probably. Really just a really shitty theme that really sounded like it took 2 seconds to compose. It sounded like anybody could have come up with this. There's no care to it. It doesn't even fit Reigns' character. There's a little bit of hip hop in there, and I believe that's the music that he likes, but isn't he supposed to be a boss character, a mafia style character? Could we maybe get something with Godfather vibes or Soprano vibes or any type of vibes really? That's zero. It's just it's a complete bore to listen to. I don't, I see people saying, oh, this is epic music. I saw someone saying this sounds like Final Boss music. Does it really sound like that? Does anyone, let me know that in the comments. What do you think of this theme song? You actually think this is good? You think this actually sounds befitting of his character? Because that's what Jim Johnson used to do. He used to actually compose theme songs, and even said this, that really fit the character. And he even said this in a recent interview. In not so many words, he pretty much said that the WWE entrant themes are complete fucking trash. And I'm sorry to say, this is actually was always a very important thing to me because I have always loved the WWE music when it was under Jim Johnson, though. That's the thing. There's always been something about that music. I always liked his flair for music. He always really had a big talent for the riff. And he could really take some of the most simplistic stuff and spice it up a little bit and really make it good, make it really gripping on your ear. And now, just to see that someone this caliber, Like, you never would hear something this crappy for Triple H, Stone Cold, The Rock, Undertaker, Kane. Because they had the best themes. Because they made sure that those were going to be the best themes because those were the best wrestlers. But now the best wrestler now has probably one of the most shitty themes. His theme song, you know, Sami Zayn has a better theme song. Dun, 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 dun. Even that's a better theme. At least that's a little catchy. Even Cringy Lynch has a better theme song than fucking Roman Reigns. You've got to be kidding me. Anyway, let's talk about this overly long match now. We got ourselves a half an hour match here. And I'm watching it online, so I'm not seeing it with the commercials, but I'm seeing where the commercial breaks are. And there was something like 4 commercial breaks here. Like, who in their right mind did they think is going to sit there through all these breaks during this match? And first, I don't even get how this match is laid out. Bryan brought this guy to the dance, and why the WrestleMania 30 match was so good, and they keep going back to that, you know, with the Batista and Orton thing, is because he was the underdog in that match. He was getting the shit beat out of him through most of that match. You know, they had him get beat up in the opening match by Triple H, so that worked. It was good. I haven't watched it actually since it happened, but I remember it being good at least. It was decent, I believe. I don't know what I would think of it if I watched it now. Don't really have any desire to do so, but the thing is about this is you have an even Stevens match where you actually have sections where Bryan is dominating against the tribal chief. For all the people that have bought into that character and they believe that this is good. You guys know that when everyone was trashing Reigns, I was the only guy saying he's the only true star. And he still is probably the only true star. He looks like a star, he is a star, but this match here, you've got Bryan just hitting everything on him, kicking out of the spear. You got Roman Reigns charging through the barricade. All the moves are being hit. It's too much. They threw so much shit out during this match. It was completely overboard. Every single thing. When they should have just had Reigns beating the shit out of Bryan throughout the whole thing. Bryan comes back with little comebacks, little hope spots. That would have been good. But instead we get this completely unbelievable scenario where you have... And you guys know that I'm a fan of Bryan, but this style is exactly what I complained about when we had what was the pay-per-view that was Fastlane, right? That's when they had that match, and I said the same thing. I didn't like it. We had Bryan like constantly locking Reigns in the yes lock, and he was tapping out to it visibly. I thought that match was ridiculous. Some people said it was good. I didn't like it. And this is another match where I gotta say, like, did both guys work hard? Yeah, I mean, you know, all these people work hard. But the way it's laid out, and you're doing this for 30 minutes, it's just a complete waste of time, because I could imagine how many people probably tuned out during this because it was long, and quite frankly, they're hitting everything. When they do this style, to me, that's boring because they're just doing way too much. Nothing means anything anymore. Bryan should not be kicking out of the spear, especially the spear that Reigns hit on him, that like super high impact spear that he's kicking out. He's not Stone Cold. He's not The Rock. And you can't just have everyone kicking out of finishers like this. And he's getting the shit beat out of him. And he's coming right back from it. And, you know, and of course, you know, he can't tap out. He has to pass out in the move because, oh, that's their out. He didn't tap out. So now he's off SmackDown for good. Cesaro runs out to save him. Jey Uso cuts him off. He gets tied up in the ropes, and Reigns delivers the concerto to Bryan. Edge is still not on the show. He's nowhere to be found. No comment. from him or anything like that. You know, you could at least maybe have the guy on commentary for this one, but of course not. I'm also going to say, like, I'm pretty sure that they're probably tying McAfee's hands. Pat McAfee on commentary. You know, as much praise as this guy has gotten, like, I don't know. The guy seems really subdued. There's not really, I'm getting a lot from him. And it's probably because they have McMahon in his ear, but, like, you know, this was pointless. I really see no difference between him and Corey Graves, to be quite honest. If I had to pick one, I would probably go with McAfee because Graves is just obnoxious and he just has that real assholeian vibe to him. So, you know, in the Booker T thing, ever since he did that, I stopped liking the guy, like, pretty much forever. Anyway, what a pointless show. It was boring, overly long main event that you just had this even Stevens type of flow to it that just really just didn't do it for me at all. I'm sure a lot of people are going to say it was long, so it was epic. Just because a match is long doesn't automatically make it good, and just because they hit 1,000 moves in it doesn't make it good either. They didn't have a good feel. There's, you know, you can't have Bryan dominating a match against a dominant champion. First of all, he's not even looking really that dominant because there's a lot of times where they're having Reigns just look kind of weak. You know, he should be plowing through guys. Like I said, have Bryan every now and then. Maybe he could be on the top rope and Bryan pushes him off for the headbutt. And he gets a near fall on him, but then Reigns should just jump right back on him and start beating the shit out of him again. But no, we don't get that. It's got to be like, oh, Bryan's a great wrestler, so he's getting the upper hand. I mean, no, I'm sorry. I'm a Bryan fan, but that is not the way that they should be handling him. They knew how to handle him at first, but now they have no idea, you know, like how this guy should be presented. Because he should not be on the same level as Reigns. He should be fighting from underneath. Anyway, guys, I hope you all enjoyed the review. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell so you get all the notifications when I post all my new videos. I want to thank all my patrons for your continued support. And thanks again for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.